Briar, thanks for taking the time to chat. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. Looking forward to it.
So, Briar, can you tell me a little bit about how you got into the craft beer brewing business?
Well, my history is kind of three facets. Number one is I have a huge interest in high quality beers. Back in the day, when I was much younger, college and such, I was drinking import beers. Later on, moved into Oregon craft beers, and then later on into California craft beers. Stumbled on Barbara Groom in this community back in 1998, and kind of somehow or another befriended her into my friendship circle. And she offered me a job in 98. I wasn't prepared for it. I had something else going on at that point. But then eventually asked me to come on board in a more serious capacity in 2001. So my connection really seriously to this brewery is from my understanding of distribution and sales to the retail and wholesale channels, and how to properly develop it, and also develop eventually a sales department and selling team. So that's my big connection to the brewery. Even though I was even home brewing back in the day, none of that really resonates into, the importance of understanding how to move product into the channels, wholesale and retail channels.
Gotcha. And Barbara Groom, she's the founder of Lost Coast?
Yes. She is, along with a couple other investment partners that she had back in the day. And then eventually it came down to just herself and a silent partner. So basically she's 98% of what this brewery is from an owner capacity is Barbara Groom. And then rest of it with my, blood, sweat, and tears that I've been putting into this, along with the great team that we've got both internally and externally in the sales department.
Gotcha. So Lost Coast is based out of Eureka, California. Why did the brewery choose this location?
Yeah, good question. So Barbara was living up here in the Humboldt County area, and she was a pharmacist along with her business partner at the time, one of her partners, which was in psychology, and they both wanted a career path change, and really yearned to have what they thought was an easy breezy life of having like a roadhouse cafe that served good beers, and with the mind thought that eventually could be doing some on-premise brewing. So all that started in the mid 80s, and by the time it came to fruition, it was 1989 when they opened up those doors and applied for a license to do brewing production, which then started around 1990.
Gotcha. So Lost Coast, the name of the brewery is...
Oh, and
sorry, go ahead.
One more thing. The other caveat was there was a brewery just north of us in Arcata, which is the university town, and Barbara felt like that would be an obvious location, but didn't see the need to have the redundancy, so then it chose Eureka instead, which was another 6 or 7 miles away. So, to kind of spread out the wealth, you might say.
Gotcha. So it just kind of all came together that way. Gotcha.
Yes.
So Lost Coast, the name of the brewery is very striking and unique. Can you tell me a little bit about the genesis of the name and kind of how it came about?
Okay, so a little bit south of us, let me think off the top of my head, probably about 30, 40 miles south of us is basically truly what the region is called is the Lost Coast. Now, this entire region of Northern California on the coastal area is called the North Coast of California. And so there was another brewery already applied for that name, North Coast Brewing, which is out of Fort Bragg. And so she just looked on the map and said, well, there's this Lost Coast, and, why not call it that? So there's a lot of nomenclature up here in this region that also uses that Lost Coast coffee brewing, coffee roasting. Other people will use that name synonymous to this region here. And so that's why she chose it. And I think it resonates very well.
Yeah, I really like it. And I like how she incorporated the geographic time in there, that tie-in. That's really cool. Lost Coast has remained independent for 30 years. With all the larger beer companies acquiring, the smaller microbreweries, why has Lost Coast decided to remain independent?
Well, I mean, it's very simple. It kind of comes down to the personality of whom Barbara is, which is, she didn't build this to be something that's just flipped around and has the mission statement that we're going to build this to basically be bought out by ABI or Miller Coors or Heineken or something like that. So the mindset was build it for independence and maintain it for independence. Second thing is her and then her silent partner have basically written resolve that just says they're not, ready to sell out. I don't know what the reasoning would be to sell out, because then you got to figure out, well, now what do I do with my time type situation. So I down to.
So it seems like Barbara has a real passion for this and is in it for the long haul.
Oh, absolutely.
So Lost Coast has done a collaboration with the punk rock band Pennywise. It's called the Pennyweiser Ale. Can you tell me a little bit about how that collaboration with Pennywise came about?
Okay, so I can't remember how they tossed it at me, but I'm trying to remember. I think just literally somebody down there, knew the band and knew that, we were looking for some music band collaboration a few years ago. Oh, I remember now. Somebody that locally works in that has no connection to the brewery, lives here locally, but is also from the region where Pennyweiser comes from, has connection to the band and reached out to us like about 2.5 years ago, reached out to me and said, how could I go about doing this band label? So I walked him through all the ins and outs, what would have to have happen and et cetera. And we kind of came up with, or I came up with a business model partnership that basically gave them a royalty share, a big royalty share. And we kind of did it just for the fun of doing it, you might say. As far as profitability, that wasn't the driving force because it wasn't there, especially once you spin off all those royalties and everything else. But, it was just fun to see what would come out of it.
Gotcha. Did Pennywise come up with the recipe, or did you guys, or did you, both work together?
Just out of sheer need to use one of our existing liquids, you might say. I theorized that we would have maybe 3 choices. So I threw them 3 different choices of liquid, and they kind of would decide which one of those resonated to their expectations as far as a band label would go. And then we came up with that.
Very cool. I really love the artwork on the beer bottle as well. It has the Pennywise artwork there and the name of the band, and actually the name of a very popular song called Bro Hymn. Can you tell me a little bit about who did the artwork?
We had nothing to do with that artwork. They did it all themselves. I think that somebody had said something that they had done some artwork. This person did some artwork for one of their record labels or something else or something connected to the band. That's all I really know. I wouldn't even want to comment anymore because my bullshit meter would probably start flipping off the chart.
Gotcha. So what's next on the horizon for Lost Coast in terms of new brews or announcements?
Well, we've got two wonderful beers that we're releasing right now in March. One of them is a hazy IPA. We really think that we've nailed the haze craze as far as that proper formulation, and we think that has some wings. It's in 12-ounce six-pack bottles and draft, and then also a peanut butter chocolate milk stout, which is really kind of a little bit unique because usually peanut butter goes into something like a porter or something, but ours is a milk stout. It's a light milk stout. And, anytime you say peanut butter, well, you say chocolate or milk stout, and then, peanut butter, it really sends the mind kind of wandering as to the uniqueness of it. And we're finding that it's got some possibilities as well. So we've released that as of late February, and we've got interest level already with the wholesale network and retail network as well.
Awesome. Yeah, well, Briar, I really appreciate you taking the time to chat with me. I wish you and the rest of the Lost Coast team well in your future endeavors.
Okay, well, thank you very much.
If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe to the channel and follow Roadtunes Reviews on Blogger, Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. And as always, thank you so much for your support.